Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's of this. Will she continue to do that when she is now one of them? Dana. And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity and she had no...
This wasn't just criticism. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly came down hard on Sunny Hostin, turning the whole thing into what felt like a nationwide spectacle. This wasn't light teasing or polite disagreement. It was a coordinated 1-2 punch that caught Sunny completely off guard, and the timing was almost unbelievable. Even though they were speaking from completely different platforms, both delivered sharp critiques of Sunny's latest misstep at nearly the same moment, as if everything lined up perfectly for a sudden reality check. What followed wasn't just another media clash. It felt like a relentless wave of criticism, with Sunny stuck right in the middle of it all, unable to step aside in time.
She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker...
And here's the thing. These aren't exactly quiet observers. Greg Gutfeld, known for his razor-sharp sarcasm, and Megyn Kelly, recognized for her precise and methodical takedowns, didn't need to coordinate a single thing. Sunny Hostin handed them the material and they each responded with the instincts of seasoned pros. Gutfeld came in with biting humor and a knowing grin, while Kelly broke down Hostin's arguments step by step with exacting detail. It felt like watching two completely different styles arrive at the exact same conclusion, one using flair and the other relying on pure logic, both exposing what they saw as the serious weaknesses in her position.
These are small, but who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, let's check out this clip from Monday's episode of The View when the ladies put their science caps on and discuss the...
Now nobody's calling this a genius convention, but when Sunny Hostin steps in, the bar somehow drops even further. It's not just that the discussion loses depth, it often makes everyone else around her seem more insightful by comparison. If self-awareness had a mirror, this might be exactly the kind of moment where it struggles to reflect clearly. That became especially obvious during a recent segment when the panel tried to tackle a science topic. Yes, during a conversation about a solar eclipse, Sunny reached for something insightful but ended up landing somewhere completely unexpected.
Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all agree on that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
Look, this is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual. She hates Trump. She doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to be president again. She destroyed the Rose Garden and she hates Christmas. That is what passes for news on a network. They did a president.
If you've ever watched The View, you already know the vibe. Overlapping voices, strong opinions, and a whole lot of chaos all at once. But this time Sunny Hostin tried to steer the conversation with what seemed like a deeply thoughtful point. The problem was it didn't quite land. Instead, it came across like someone aiming for something complex but completely missing the mark in execution. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly didn't need to be in the same studio to react. They caught the moment from afar and it practically invited commentary. Both stepped in and broke down her remarks with the kind of energy critics bring when they're analyzing something that just didn't come together.
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a
This wasn't a slow unraveling. It felt more like everything collapsed all at once. Sunny Hostin's argument didn't just weaken, it caved under its own confusing logic. Greg Gutfeld leaned into the moment with clear enthusiasm, delivering sharp jabs that landed quickly and cleanly. At the same time, Megyn Kelly approached it with a calm, methodical breakdown, making each point feel carefully examined. The contrast was hard to miss. Gutfeld used humor to highlight the flaws while Kelly focused on explaining them, and Sunny struggled to keep her footing, becoming the center of a very public example of how arguments can completely fall apart under pressure.
On The View, accusing Israel of war crimes.
An international human rights body of law. And when you look at that law, part of it is retaliation against innocent civilians collectively.
Not committing war crimes. The ones committing war crimes are Hamas. The use of human shields is a war crime. They don't want Israel to bomb them, and therefore they've surrounded themselves with Israel's citizens, some 199 of them, and some untold number.
Let's be real, this wasn't just a small slip. It felt like a total collapse. Sunny Hostin came in strong and confident, but it seemed like intensity was doing a whole lot more work than actual reasoning. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld calmly picked apart her points one by one, barely showing any strain at all. One side brought noise and the other brought control, and that difference was impossible to ignore.
I have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color.
The ladies of The View. Speaking of Sunny Hostin, take a look at.
I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my.
Then Megyn Kelly stepped in with a prosecutor-level approach, cutting through Sunny Hostin's arguments with careful precision. Her calm and focused delivery made one thing crystal clear. This wasn't just a discussion anymore. It had turned into a full-scale breakdown of every claim being made. And with Sunny not there to respond in real time, it made the situation even more one-sided, giving her critics a wide-open path to challenge her points without a single interruption.
Angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended, because you know who showed up. Yeah. And he was, whether he was asked or not. This is a man who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Sunny Hostin's attempt to recover only seemed to make things worse. Her responses grew more confusing while Greg Gutfeld kept breaking down her points step by step without missing a beat. Every effort to regain control only pushed the situation further off track. It turned into the kind of unfolding moment that's genuinely hard to look away from, even as everything keeps slipping further out of place.
Red. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
By the end, Sunny Hostin's performance felt less like a solid argument and more like a live lesson in what can go wrong during a heated debate. She struggled to hold her ground while Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly continued picking apart her points from their own platforms without letting up. In the end, it wasn't just about losing in exchange. It became one of those moments people keep pointing back to when the conversation turns to how arguments can completely fall apart under pressure.
Hostin asking about the differences between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And my prediction is this is going to be made into a campaign ad for Trump within the next hour.
Would be the biggest specific difference between your presidency and a Biden presidency.
Well, we're obviously two different. I've had
literally, I guarantee you that's being made into an ad right now. It might hit.
Megyn Kelly didn't need to raise her voice even once. Her delivery stayed calm and controlled, the kind that lands with real precision. As Sunny Hostin struggled to keep up, Kelly moved straight through the confusion, breaking down each point with steady, unwavering focus. It created a moment that felt both uncomfortable and, for a lot of viewers, strangely compelling to watch. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld took on a completely different role, leaning into humor and sharp commentary to drive his points home. Together, even from separate platforms, they formed a striking contrast, one measured and exact, the other bold and biting, yet both relentless. By the end, Sunny was left trying to respond as the discussion had already moved well past her arguments, leaving her with very little ground to stand on.
Will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny, she's so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea.
Megyn's dismantling of Sunny was thorough rather than just stunning. Every single point chipped away at Sunny's confidence without mercy. Yet she clung to tired, worn-out arguments and grew visibly angrier. She was getting hit from a distance by both Gutfeld and Kelly at the same time, and as usual, Sunny responded with more confusion than any kind of strong, coherent argument.
Sunny Hostin asking about the differences between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And my prediction is this is going to be made into a campaign ad for Trump within the next hour.
What do you think would be the biggest specific difference between your presidency and a Biden presidency?
Well, we're obviously two different.
I guarantee you that's being made into an ad right now. It might hit before.
Megyn methodically called out every error like a professor dissecting a poorly written paper as Sunny tried to recover with muddled comparisons that went nowhere. Sunny's loud, confident energy gave way to obvious hesitancy, and it showed. This went beyond simple criticism. It pointed to a much larger pattern of manufactured outrage, flawed reasoning, and steadily shrinking credibility. This wasn't just an error. It was a very public fall from whatever platform she thought she was standing on.